Hey Nowata, it is Friday, March 11th, and we are back with Stephen Hill, founder of SpeakSobriety, and we're going to do our wrap up from these last 2 weeks that you've been here. So we have a lot to talk about, so join us. Our mission is to promote strategies and policies which ensure improved health for all citizens of Nowata County. All right, we're back. So, Stephen, you've done this marathon through Nowata County for the last 2 weeks. I don't know what else to call it. And wow.
Yeah, it's been a lot. And first of all, thank you for inviting me down here to speak to everyone and to believe in my "it takes a village" approach.
Oh man.
Right? Sometimes I just speak to students. Sometimes I just speak to middle school or high school. Sometimes I just do a parent program, and sometimes I just do professional development. But what was very unique about this experience is I got to speak to everyone, starting with the teachers, right? Professional development, then coming back and speaking to the middle school students, then the high school students, and then the parents in the evening, and not doing it for one school district, but 2-3 school districts.
Right.
So it was definitely a marathon. It was a very interesting experience to be able to speak at the different schools, see how each school has their own individuality, how each school is a little bit different, and to end it yesterday with a very powerful ending at South Coffeyville. And I was sharing with you before how I had this group of students, and these boys, you can tell they were all athletes. They all had their Lions gear on, and they were pushing one of their friends to come and talk to me. And he did, and he had his head down. You can tell he was very nervous, but he said that he was struggling with substance use, particularly nicotine, and that my story inspired him to quit. And he reached in his pocket, and he handed me his vape and said this is the first step towards a drug-free life, and all his friends clapped for him.
That's awesome.
I mean, it was I really can't think of a better way to end it than that after, speaking, I don't know, more than 10 times,
Right.
giving these different presentations. But the breakout sessions too at Oklahoma Union were really good. I had some students, they were allowed to voluntarily come in, and I had a few students who just kept coming back, and they were there for all 3 sessions and talking about so many different topics. From number one, why do you think that some students don't take this topic seriously, right? And so we started talking about that, and what most of the students said is that if you're not affected by it yet, it's hard to really see it. Plus, one of the students just talked about, if you're telling us that we shouldn't be doing this, you're getting in the way of our fun, right? Because this is what especially high school students view as fun, and that they don't want someone to tell them that you can't do this or that you shouldn't be doing this. So we had a lot of those in-depth conversations, and it really was a powerful experience.
That's awesome. Awesome. So you already talked about it a little bit, but obviously there are differences and similarities between all 3 school districts. Can you that's probably a common thing when you go to other places, but is there anything that was pretty much the same with the 3 school districts as compared to other schools that you talked to throughout the country?
So one thing that I really noticed here was the amount of students that had family members that were struggling with addiction, particularly their parents. And I share this, especially in like a professional development presentation. And I admit this, that when I first started speaking 6 years ago, I had put a lot of time and effort into this. I talked with my audience first, my youngest brother, who was a senior in high school at the time. I talked with a school social worker. I talked with the principal, and just my own experience, and tried to hit every topic I possibly could. And unfortunately then, but you could say fortunately now, I personally experienced so many of these topics that are relevant. But one topic I didn't experience was growing up in a home where drug and alcohol use was really going on. And because I didn't have that, I had my loving and supportive parents. Neither of them had problems with drugs or alcohol. It was more them being concerned about me. And that's common with work in prevention and education. You hear people say, how can we help these kids? We got to help these kids. I'm so concerned about these kids. But some of these kids are not the problem.
Right.
It's their parents.
Yep.
And that was something that I really noticed at all three of these school districts, was the amount of students that, sometimes I can pick up on it when I'm speaking. You don't know exactly what it is, but you can tell the students that have tears coming down their eyes, or they're just really locked in, and you could tell they're upset, that they've already been affected by this. Not them as the one who's using the drugs and the alcohol, but they know a brother, a sister, or their parents are using it. And there were so many students who came up to me who said that to me, and I was really, the only thing you can say to that person is trying to break the cycle.
Yeah.
Right? That you, just because this has been going on in your family, some of them, it's been going on for generations. I talked with the school resource officer at Oklahoma Union, and he was saying, there's times where we've arrested the grandparent, the parent, and the kid, right? Sometimes all in the same week. And she's like, just generations and generations of this going on, and really trying to talk to them about breaking that cycle, about utilizing whatever resources they can, trying to find that inner strength, focusing on their academics, on their health, and potentially going to college or to a trade school, and going on and living their own life, and using their negative experience potentially for something positive, right? It's very important what you want, to know what you really want in life, but it's also important to know what you don't want. And if you've experienced that, you know that you don't want that for yourself or for your family one day. So that was one thing that really stood out to me.
So as far as like the differences between each school, were there noted differences between each school?
I could tell you that the last school, South Coffeyville, really felt like a family. That's the best way to describe it. They were just so nice, and even the principal, I mean, he has more than one role. He shook my hand. He said, I'm the superintendent, the principal, the groundskeeper, and whatever you need me to be today. And they all came in. They were very respectful. I didn't have to shut anybody down. So they felt like a very small family. Oklahoma Union was great. A lot of the teachers showed up for the professional development, including the superintendent, all three principals, which says a lot to me. That you're all there, and you're making sure your teachers are there. And
a lot of them actually sat in on your presentation several times because they were there for the professional development, and then they were there during the student assemblies, and then you were in their classrooms for the breakouts. And then we even had one student come back to your professional development at Oklahoma Union with his family.
Yes.
I mean...
Yeah, and it was great. And I even got to speak with some of the administration at Oklahoma Union personally. I got to speak with Superintendent, is it Taylor?
Yes, Mrs. Taylor.
Yeah, Mrs. Taylor. I got to speak with her. She was really great. Asked me different questions. Even got to know a little bit personally. Her son's going to law school.
Yeah.
I got to talk with Rusty as well.
Yeah.
The principal over at Oklahoma Union, and he was just very gracious that I was willing to come in and to talk to them, and he followed up with it, and it was really amazing experience at all the different schools.
That's awesome. Well, so it's clear to all of us here at Know What I Can that you are doing what you were meant to do. I mean, during the student assemblies and then the breakouts, those kids, they know you're the real deal. I mean, kids don't they don't fake it,
And that, to me, that was one of the most important pieces of this. And I actually got some guidance from my youngest brother on it. And he said, kids are so used to being talked down to, wink, wink, scared straight, that type of thing. And so just coming at them from a very real point of view and being honest. And you could say it again, unfortunately then, but fortunately now, I personally experienced so much of this stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm really just trying to save one life every time I speak.
That's
right.
awesome.
And that's what it's all about. Even I always go into it with the mindset, if I can even just impact one person's life today and potentially save a life, then it's worth for me to speak. And one thing I made very clear, especially in some of the breakout sessions, was that this is not just for the person who's using drugs and alcohol. Right. A big piece of this is knocking down that stigma. And in order to knock down that stigma, we have to educate everybody on this.
Yeah.
Right. the words that are used. I open up my presentation with junkie, dope fiend, drug addict, drunk, dropout, felon, and the all-encompassing failure. And using those words contributed to my downfall and my inability to recover. So getting other people to understand substance use and addiction, and maybe they're a little bit more compassionate now. Maybe they're more understanding. Maybe they understand the importance of early intervention and speaking up when they're concerned about a friend. All of these things have nothing to do with the kid who's actually using drugs and alcohol, right? This is about the person who's not using drugs and alcohol and could potentially be in a position to help, to intervene, or not contribute to the stigma. All of that, to me, is equally as important.
That's awesome. Yeah. I mean, it's been a crazy week. Or crazy 2 weeks, I should say. Crazy
2 weeks. And I'm glad we got everything done.
Yeah.
Because we had a snow day today.
No joke.
So we're perfect timing. Everything worked out very well.
And hopefully your plane is on time. Like, who knows?
We'll see. Not last time, but we'll see this time. Yeah, for sure.
Well, Marcus,
I
know he's over there. I can
I'm
feel it.
fidgeting.
I can feel it too. Like, he's got something coming.
So I do speak up sometimes because mental health is kind of where my training and experience has been. And what I was really proud and excited to see was it was a type of conversation that the kids felt comfortable to come up and speak. Even though there were peers around them, some of them would wait till the main crowd was gone and all that good stuff. But it touched a lot of kids and it empowered them to come and have a conversation. And some of them came to us, as they were waiting to speak to you or after they spoke to you and say, hey, I have these issues. And they had, the adults were there to help them, and we were able to get some of them to see a counselor that they're dealing with this kind of stuff. And kids, you don't have to do it alone.
Yeah.
Parents, adults, please be there for the kids. Listen to them. I love the fact that you said that kids get talked down to all the time, because kids can understand a lot more than what we give them credit for. So I'm really excited to see there are several kids that came up and said, hey, I'm ready to talk to somebody. I'm ready to talk to a counselor. I want to make some changes. And it may just because there was a plethora of different reasons, but without you giving that speech, they might not have got the resources that they have been waiting for. That was their chance to go start addressing some issues that they were dealing with. And I'm really grateful for that. So, being a counselor myself, that was fantastic to see those kids getting hooked up with the services that I know are a best practice. They help. They're not going to fix everything for anybody, but they help. And it gives them an opportunity to get, the resources they need. So thank you for that. I just wanted to chime in on that.
No, I appreciate that. And
those are my kiddos.
That's a big part of this, too, because if you don't talk about this stuff, then nothing gets done. Yes, there has to be action behind the words, but the first step is to at least have these conversations, right? And then you were all there to be able to point them in the right direction, to get people resources. I mean, we even had one student who wanted help but didn't even trust that help was there, right? Who didn't even trust the word counselor, right? So you have so many things you have to work through, and so that's just the beginning of it. And the fact that she was willing to at least come up to me and ask me that first, it did make me feel good that I could at least share my story in an authentic way where she felt comfortable enough to come up to me and to ask that question. Do you trust counselors, right? And to me, that's a sad question.
It is. It
right?
absolutely is.
That you need help, but you don't even trust that there's help there. That's a whole nother layer that you have to work through before you even start counseling the person for the help they need with all the trauma in their life or anything else that's going on. So it's no joke that this is no joke. This is a major problem right now all across the country. It has nothing to do with just this county or this state. I mean, this is something I do all across the country, and a lot of the problems are eerily similar. They are, but at least we're here to try and be part of the solution.
I think also it's a great platform. You ever get in an argument with a spouse and they go, "Now's not the good time. Now's not a good time." Well,
never.
Well, when is a good time? When is a good time to have this conversation? When you're in a good mood, when you're in a bad mood, when you're in the middle of a fight? No. Yeah. But at school, I can imagine a kid going, "I need help," but this is just out of the blue. I'm feeling this way, but everybody else looks like they're perfectly fine. Everything's going good. Where is my opportunity to open this conversation? And then, lo and behold, here's this assembly hitting on the same stuff that these kids are dealing with, and they go, "Oh, now is my chance."
Well, it's uncomfortable to talk about hard things.
Yeah.
And we've got to make it comfortable. We've got, well, I mean, as comfortable as you can make it, but I mean, it's got to be a normal thing. And we talked about that earlier. We just have layers of things we're dealing with here, not just substance misuse. So, I don't know.
We're doing everything we can, right? And we're not the reactive Facebook parent.
No.
When something really bad happens, and then you just take to Facebook and say, we need to do something to help these kids, and then you just go away.
Yeah.
Right? Those people drive me crazy, and realize that there are no miracle solutions to this problem. This is a tanker ship we're turning around here, and this is a day in, day out thing
It's
of
going to take a while.
teaching kids to make smart choices, to ask for help, to know it's okay to not be okay sometimes, and to develop a culture around being able to talk about this stuff openly and ask for help and have more of a focus on overall health and wellness and mindfulness. I mean, all of this stuff matters. I mean, prevention is so much bigger than just don't do drugs or drugs and alcohol are bad, right? This stuff is so much bigger than that, and that's what we're here to do.
Yeah. Well, that's exactly what I appreciate about your presentation, about your program, is that it involves everyone in the community. Like, the community solves this problem. It's not just like a coalition. It's not just we're a part of the answer, but we certainly aren't the only, like, the end all. So that's what I appreciate about it, and I just really thank you for coming all the way out to Nowata, America, and just kind of experiencing us. I'm sure you take every community, you take a little bit back with you.
Oh, I do.
Yeah.
I do. I mean, this year I've been, one of the most interesting ones. I spoke on a Native American reservation. That was very interesting. Being able to come here, last year all I was doing was speaking into a computer.
Ugh.
And now I'm getting able,
Yeah.
I'm able to go around and speak with people in person. I'm going to Virginia next week, so it's timely and it feels right to be doing this right now.
Awesome. Well, that's all I have. Do you have anything else?
Just thank you again for inviting me down here to be part of your community for these last 2 weeks.
Thank you.
Well, let's do this before we sign off. I'm going to pop this up on the screen. This is, South Coffeyville Oklahoma Union in Nowata. We're associated with the Hurry Project and Nowata Can.
Yep.
And if you're interested in more of Steven's stuff, I guess I should throw this to Steven.
Yeah, for
Absolutely. Sure. So my website is SpeakSobriety.com. All my social media is at SpeakSobriety, and all the information about my story and my programs is on there. So, I do a lot of different speaking on this topic. So if you need any information, just feel free to reach out anytime.
Awesome. Okay. Well,
thanks for coming and helping us, Steven.
Absolutely.
I appreciate you.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you. All right. With that, we'll see y'all next time.